Makes me nervous. What's that? Yeah. You know what? We're just going to get started. We'll wait for our technical people to catch up. So, we've got a lot we want to cover tonight. And so, welcome back. It's good to have you. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you'd show up. Glad you did. Thank you. All right. So, we are going to start with a prayer. So, for those of you who are new, all of you are the group. And I would be, thank you. Yes, the leader. So, we'll start with a prayer. Release us from bondage, O Lord.
Release us.
Release us from the bondage of sin and death, O Lord.
Release us.
Release us from the bondage of selfishness and putting ourselves first.
Release us.
Release us from ignoring our neighbors in need.
Release us.
Release us from all the things that bind us.
Release us.
Amen. So we're going to talk a little bit about this idea of being released when we talk later in our lesson, but we'll start with just some updates and some announcements. So we always talk about volunteer opportunities, okay? And so both at LCR and at MPLC, we have opportunities to volunteer for your service connections. One of them is going to be the community meal on October 6th. Have any of you done the community meal before? Is it awesome?
It is so much fun.
Well, there we go. And Kathy's even believable, right? Right. Yeah. So it's a fun way to volunteer and to help others as well. And remember that any kind of worship, most kinds of worship assistants, whether it's lecturing or ushering, community assistant, will count as a service connection as well. So, and the other thing is just a reminder, you can go to Sunday school too. So the idea of confirmation isn't that it's a substitute for Sunday school. It's better, but it's not a substitute for Sunday school. Okay? So we encourage you to do both. Right? Yes? Okay. Cool. So with that, we are going to get started with some updates on the scavenger hunt. I know. Oh, geez, indeed. Yes.
I promised there would be fabulous prizes. First, I got to show you your fabulous pictures. Can I use this? Is that the right one? Actually, leave that one in. No. Let me, yeah, I'll do it. Okay. You said Pastor Beth Ann. Yes? I am. All right, so just so you know, I did score everybody's group. Each group has a little 2-minute slideshow of your pictures, and you may have lost points if you didn't follow directions, or if you missed a picture. And so I'll show you the pictures, starting with this one, the I'm All Right group. I need to have some cool music playing. I'll do this because I want to do that. There are some. I sped it up just a little bit. I took a little quiz out because you were very sneaky. Most people found most of the things. Or if they didn't find that picture, they made one up that was on the same topic. Found it. I forgot there was a crown of thorns in that window. Joe found it.
too broken in your eyes, Lord.
See if you know this one. Oh, it started at the end. Oh, there we go. Okay, this is the beginning. Going across the river. They were wrestling. Oh, it got cut off. Sorry about that. Something happened with the production class. Final score. Knock off Noah.
You gave me something to live for. Now I'm a little bit different. You showed me I'm made for much more. Now I'm walking in your deliverance. Even when I don't know myself, Lord, you see the things that I hold, the depths of my soul. Yeah, you know my ways. Yeah, nothing's too broken in your eyes, Lord. Yeah, I'm made by design. You brought me to life, and now I'm here to praise. I'm gonna lift you up, up, up. I'm gonna sing it out, out, out. When the sun comes down, down, down. When the sun goes up, 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 up. You gave me something to live for. Now I'm a little bit different. You showed me I'm made for much more. Now I'm walking in your deliverance.
It's like you were really there. All right, final score for the knockoff Noah.
What's the good news? What's the good news? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? I'm gonna walk this out. Even when I don't know myself, Lord. You see the things that I hold, the depths of my soul. Yeah, you know my ways. Yeah, nothing's too broken in your eyes, Lord. Yeah, I'm made by design. You brought me to life, and now I'm here to praise. I'm gonna lift you up, up, up. I'm gonna sing it out, out, out. When the sun comes down, down, down. When the sun goes up, 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 up. You gave me something to live for. Now I'm a little bit different. You showed me I'm made for much more.
Tough
Now
creative.
I'm walking in your deliverance. Even when I don't know myself.
Oh my. It's just the way it happened, people. It's just the way it happened. Wow. Drum roll, please.
The winner of the fabulous prize is the Knockout Noahs. So, but do you know the story of the vineyard workers, the workers in the vineyard, and even the ones who came at the very end still got a reward? Guess what? Everyone gets a reward.
That's right.
You get a fabulous prize. So there are colored goldfish, flavor blasted pretzel, or vanilla cupcake. Vanilla cupcake things. I hope you guys had fun with the thing. Oh, I gotta do you guys first, right? You guys are the winners, so you get to choose first. All right, I will hand these out while you begin, Scott.
All right. You guys, I'm not going to lie, you did an awesome job. I was impressed. Color me impressed, okay? No, you don't have to clap. All right. If we can. Thank you very much. All right. So we're going to get into the teaching part tonight. So we're going to do this every week because I think it's hilarious. We're not going to do it this week, though, because we're running out of time. So next week, you can think of your questions. You can ask me anything. Anything. Okay? This is your opportunity to get to know me a little bit more. All right? We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yes. So anyway, starting next week, ask me something. All right? That's a challenge to you. Best question at the end of the year, I'll give a prize to. It's good. Like lots of candy. Or chips. Soda. I'll work with you. You aren't going to win, so don't worry about it. But that's a challenge. Yes. That's a really insulting question, but I think it's funny. So I'm willing to accept it. No. All right, so today we're going to talk about the book of Exodus. Can anybody tell me anything at all? One little nugget about the book of Exodus. One little nugget. Yeah? In the book of? Thank you. Yes. So we got some things going on in the book of Exodus. Does anybody know Old Testament or New Testament for the book of Exodus? Old Testament or New Testament? Sadie, do you know? Old Testament. Very nice. Very good. Yes. Exodus is the second book in the Bible. So if you're looking for the book of Exodus, it's pretty early on. Old Testament, then New Testament. So we're looking a lot about the book of Exodus. And our lesson today is that God calls ordinary people to do extraordinary things. Raise your hand if you're ordinary. Sometimes, right? Sometimes we're extraordinary, sometimes we're ordinary. And yet we're asked to do extraordinary things. And the question we're going to answer is, what if I don't think I can do it? So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So a lot of times in our lessons, we're going to go through some definitions. In this case, we're just going to go through these real quick because I want to spend some time on the lesson. So, cries. We're going to talk about this a little bit. And these are more like not crying, like sad crying. This is like cries of help, right? Help me, something like that. So urgent pleas for help. And then a call. Has anybody heard like the word call used at church? Not like that call. Call me maybe. It's not like that, right? Where have you heard the word call used at church? Ooh. Yes, yes. We might be called to do something, right? If you are a member at Mount Pleasant, we are doing something, we're calling something. Any idea what we might be calling? I like this. Yeah, go ahead. No, but you answered a question, so there you go. All right, what else? What are we calling at church? Any idea? Do any of the adults know? Sadie, do you know? No. What do you think, Nate? Yes, we're calling a pastor. Okay. Do you want some Skittles? Sure. You're darn right you do. Yeah, exactly. All right, see? You participate, you get candy. So we call bribery. All right? So, we're calling a pastor, and the idea here is that the pastor might be called to do what God asks to do. Okay? So it's this idea of God asks us to do something, and we feel inclined to respond to that. All right? And then injustice. You guys have all heard the word injustice, right? It's like the opposite of justice. Okay? Is there injustice in our world today? All over the place, right? And there was injustice back in biblical times as well. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. So, we talked about this last year. Does everybody remember the Mount Rushmore of Christianity we talked about last year? Yeah. Does anybody remember? Give me one name of somebody who might have been on the Mount Rushmore of Christianity. Mount Rushmore of Christianity. No. Jesus was, yeah, you know what? Jesus was on the Mount Rushmore of Christianity. Nice job. Forgot about that. Who else is on the Mount Rushmore of Christianity? We're going to get to him. Who else was on the Mount Rushmore of Christianity? Yeah. Woo! Bam! You're right. Who's the last person on the Mount Rushmore of Christianity? Yeah. No. No. Who else? What do you think? It's a tough one. You weren't even here last year, but you raised your hand like, oh. You got nothing, do you? That's not how it works. I want to raise my hand so you throw me candy. Nice try, Sadie. Saul is Paul. Same guy. Remember, Saul was Paul. Same fellow. What do you think, Scarlett? God's the answer to every question at church except this one. God is not a Jew. God is not on the Mount Rushmore of Christianity. No. Who do you think? Nope. These are good guesses. We need to up the ante. We have 2 starbursts now. That could have been disastrous. What do you think? Peter. Great answer, except not on the Mount Rushmore. We're missing a pretty important fella here. What do you think? What's it? Not John either. This is amazing to me. Absolutely amazing. How about our man Abraham? You know, kind of like everybody descends from Abraham. All right? You'll see this next year. So we got Jesus, we got Abraham, we got Paul, and we got our man Moses. All right? And Moses is who we're talking about today. Okay? So how long ago did Moses live? 50, 100 years ago? How long ago did Moses live, do you figure? What do you think? Couple thousand. I need to be a little bit more accurate. That's like, you know, how many people live in your house? You know, 10 or 20? What, how many? 5,000. Yeah. What do you think, Amelia? Never mind. Okay, I'm now never minding. How about that? What do you think, Evan? 8 years? 80. Oh, 80 years. That's like as old as me. So no. Nice try, but no. Evan, what do you think? Well, we just said 80, right? So we've established that. How long ago did Moses live? 2,000. You're close, except that's when Jesus lived. And Jesus did not live at the time of Moses. What do you think? 2,636. Okay. That's pretty dang close. So Moses was born around 1400 BC. We're 2,000 years AD right now, so it's about 3,400 years ago that Moses was born. You did some research on this, didn't you? Did you study before you came? That was amazing. It's awesome, really impressive. All right, so Moses was born about 3,600 years ago. Okay, that's before cars were invented. All right? He was born in Egypt. Okay? Yeah? Great. All right, what else can you tell me about Moses? What else can you tell me? Anything about Moses? Zach, go ahead.
He was born in Chicago and became one favorite of all the firstborn sons.
Look at you.
Mom put the baby in a basket that then floated into the queen, and then she adopted him, and then she raised him, and then she opened him.
That's a really great answer. Go ahead. So Moses was born a slave. Okay? Was Moses Egyptian? Raise your hand if you think Moses he was born in Egypt. Raise your hand if you think Moses was an Egyptian. That, my friend, is called peer pressure. Moses was not an Egyptian. No. Moses was a Hebrew or a Jew. All right? Yes. He's the, can I quote you? The 10 Commandments dude. Yes. We're going to get to that. Okay? So, Zach mentioned a little bit about the law at the time. This is a story you might have heard somewhere else. Who remembers what the king, this guy, what's he called? You were going to say Pharaoh, weren't you? You're gal darn right you were. Ha! All right, yes. This guy here is Pharaoh. He's the king, okay? And he's getting a little bit nervous about all these baby Jewish people being born, okay? And so what law do you think he made? If you were getting nervous about baby boys being born, what law would you make? What do you think? Not even the firstborn son, every son. Okay? So every kid, every boy is going to be killed if you're of Jewish ancestry. Yep, yes. Not really, no. That's a good story, but not really. It doesn't appear that way in the Bible. Fair? And so the law at the time was that if you're a baby boy and you're Jewish, you're supposed to be killed. Okay? Raise your hand if you're all for that. No. Okay. Good. Good choice. Moral compass. That's good. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the story right about here. And I want you to find your Bibles. I want you to open to Exodus chapter 2. Exodus chapter 2. Again, Old Testament or New Testament? Old Testament. Thank you very much. And if you don't have a Bible, share with your neighbor, please. Then, start to improvise. All right. Does everybody have open to Exodus chapter 2? Okay. What, you want to prove it to me? That's great. Thank you. I wasn't sure, so thank you. You're believable now. All right. Can I get somebody who would like to volunteer to read just a little bit of Exodus chapter 2? You can't answer every question. We're going to get to you. All right. Read until I tell you to say stop. It'll be long before you get to 10.
Wait, are you telling me to say stop?
I don't want to wear this. Okay. Now a man from the house of Levi went and married a Levite woman. The woman The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was a fine baby, she hid him 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and plastered it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child in it and placed it among the reeds on the bank of the river. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him.
All right, so what happens here? Moses is born, and what happens? Who is actually listening? What happens? I wonder what will happen. This is what's commonly known as a cliffhanger. Okay? Like, what's going to happen? So, let's see what's going to happen next. What verse were you on? 5? That's awesome. Who would like to read next? All right.
The daughter of the Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river. When her attendants walked beside the river, she spotted the basket among the reeds and sent her maid to bring it. When she opened it, she saw the child. He was crying. She took pity on him. This must be one of the Hebrews' children, she said. Then his sister said to the Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get you a nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Yes."
Okay. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm so deaf. I'm old. I can barely see. I can barely walk. Hearing is a real struggle. So. All right, so they send Moses down the river, right? And who discovers baby Moses? Yeah. This guy's daughter, who's not nearly as mean as this guy. Okay? All right, so his daughter finds Moses, and she says, who are we going to get to take care of this baby? Okay? Does anybody want to take a wild stab at who they get to take care of the baby? Yes! How coincidental, if that's a word. So, yes, so the end of this part of the story is Moses' mom actually gets to take care of Moses. Okay? So Moses is raised in Egypt, and he's raised in the palace, right? Okay? So this guy who was a slave gets taken by the Pharaoh's daughter, who then is raised in the palace. Yes? That's a really exceptional question. I don't think they told him. You know, Pharaoh was busy with ruling the land. I don't know how involved he was with his children. And so, that's the story I'm sticking to. Yes? Okay, this is great. This is really good timing, okay? One time only. It better be an emergency. We do this for like a half hour. I'm like 1,000 years old, and even I can hold a half hour, okay? And so go to the bathroom before you come, so like me, you can hold it a whole half hour. Fair? Okay. All right, so the next part of the story is this. We got Moses in the basket, right? Pharaoh's daughter finds him. She's thrilled, and so is Moses' mom. All right, we're not going to read this part, but this is a really weird part of the story, okay? So Moses is getting older in Egypt, and he's actually kind of a big deal, okay? And so he's still Jewish, and he's out watching the flocks, okay? He's tending sheep. This is what people do back then, right? And he sees an Egyptian wailing on a Jewish person, okay? Two guesses. What do you think he does? Somebody else? Somebody who hasn't talked yet? What do you think he does? That's a really great guess, and probably a much nicer guess than what actually happened. What do you think? Also, incredibly nice. You two are obviously really nice Lutheran children. Moses, not so much. No. What do you think he did? Yeah. Nope. Nope. We're going the other direction. What do you think? Nope. Nope. He killed him. Okay? Yep. Moses killed him. I know. Kathy looks like she's never heard this. Like, oh my God, he killed him. This is Moses. He's on the Mount Rushmore of Christianity. Right? Yes. Moses killed him. Okay? And then he looks around and he's like, uh-oh, I got to get out of here. Okay? And so Moses leaves because he knows he's in trouble. He goes to this land called Midian. All right? And he hangs out in Midian for a while. So that's what happens in this part of the story. Raise your hand if you knew Moses killed somebody. Then why didn't you say it? You said he was like nice. Well, okay, beforehand. That's fair. That's a really fair statement. Before I told you, how many of you knew that Moses actually killed somebody? You didn't say it. That's fair also. All right. So, what happens next? Okay, we're going to do a little dance around Exodus 3. So, if you can find Exodus 3, we're going to dabble a little bit in this one. Can I get somebody to read a little bit of Exodus 3? Pierce? Hey, the way this works is loud and proud. Okay? You want somebody to hear it.
Moses. Nope, I'm not doing this.
How about just one verse? Go ahead.
All right. Moses was no.
So this is also a cliffhanger. Moses was. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Let's go.
One day, Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. He led the flock far into the wilderness and came to Sinai, the mountain of God. Moses There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the middle of a bush. Moses stared at it in amazement. Though the bush was engulfed in flames, it didn't burn up. This is amazing, Moses said to himself. Why isn't the bush burning up? I must go see it. When the Lord saw Moses coming to take a look, God called him from the middle of the bush. Moses, Moses. Here I am, Moses replied.
All right. So I'm sure this has happened to most of you. How many of you have been out wandering in the desert, right? I know this has happened to me several times. And you walk up to this bush that's on fire but not burning. Who among us, right? Exactly, yes. Same. Anyway, so this is kind of weird, right? What I'm sure didn't happen is the bush didn't talk to you. And so, Moses comes up to this bush, and it's burning, right? And the bush says, Moses, Moses. Just like that, okay? Isn't that awesome? All right? And so, this is God talking to Moses. You ever heard of the burning bush? Everybody's heard of the burning bush, right? Of course, okay? So God talks to Moses, okay? And God's going to ask Moses to do something. Okay, what do you think?
Well, I think he says, go back to your land and tell the Pharaoh to stop slavery. He says, no, and then he asks again, he says, you should do it. He says, well, no, I can't talk well. And so he says, well, I'll get your brother to talk for you, but you have to find out stuff. He says, still, I don't know. He says, well, just do it, I'll do it.
How many of you picked all that up? Okay, somebody give me a recap of what Zach just said. You can't give yourself a recap of what you just said. Like, that's not even fair. Come on. What do you think? God's going to ask Moses to go back to Egypt. What else? Say, hey, Pharaoh, what do you say? Let's cut it out, okay? Okay, I got to ask now. This is like a raise of the hand type question. If you ran into this burning bush and he said, Abib, right? Okay? Or something like that. All right? Willow, like that, right? And said, I need you to do this one thing. Raise your hand if you'd say no to God. Well, we have honest people, I guess, so that's good. Right. Well, go back to your land and tell the king of this land to stop messing with my people, right? It's a big ask. All right? And Moses has the guts to say, you know what, I'm just not feeling it. It's the wrong day of the week. I'm just, not on Tuesdays. It's just not my, I got a dentist appointment and, I got stuff to do, the cattle and all, okay? And God says, Moses, right? Okay? And Moses comes up with this really lame excuse that Zach talked about. What was his lame excuse? Does anybody remember? I know you know it already. You told me once. Okay? What was the lame excuse? I don't talk. I ain't got no good English skills. Okay? I don't talk so good. And what does God say? What do you think God says? No, he actually says that. But he starts with, I don't care. Right? And he says, hey, trust me. Do what I say. Go ahead and do it. All right? And so Moses tries to talk his way out of all this stuff. Okay? Yes. No. I know. But thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Okay. So again, God says, I need you to do this one thing for me. I'm not going to ask the world of you. I'm not going to give you a list of 100 things to do. I just want you to do this one thing. All right? Just do me one solid. Go do this thing. All right? And Moses says, I got some really tight dinner plans tonight. Right? There's this new restaurant that opened up across the land. Right? He says, no, thank you. And again, God says, I'm calling you to do it. And so the question for the group is, what if God says to do something and we don't think we can do it. Okay? What do you think?
Well, can I reference another Bible story?
Sure.
There was one time where God asked the one guy to bring his son up to the mountain, and
Little guy we like to call Abraham. Yeah.
all right, I want you to sacrifice your son by killing him. And he was about to kill him, and God said, stop. And he was like, since you were going to do what I said, but you're supposed to, you don't actually have to kill your son, just
Yep.
do a lamb instead. And that's
Yeah. This kind of story happens a lot. Have you ever heard the story of Jonah? Big fish, whale, right? Very similar. Jonah, I want you to do this. No thanks. No, really. So he swallows him up with a fish. And so, what did God ask Moses to do? We know, right? Go talk to Pharaoh. Okay? And he said, no, thank you. So my question is, what does God ask us to do? When's the last time God came in front of you in the form of a burning anything and said, scarlet. Not lately? No. So what does God call us to do? Go ahead. Luna? Same. That happens to me a lot. What do you think? Worship Him, follow the Ten Commandments. What else? That's a lot of it, right? So think about what do others ask us to do, right? How many of you have adults in your life that ask you to do things? It's kind of like part of being a kid, right? That's the way it works, right? So you get things that theoretically God asks us to do. We get things that others ask us to do, right? We get things that we should do, right? How many of you walk around each day is like, oh, I should do this. I should be nice to this person. I should help this animal. I should open this door, right? There's all these things that we should do, right? Okay? And that's what God asks us to do. Okay? God asks us to do the things that are right. He's not going to come to us in a burning bush. He's not probably going to even make himself apparent. But he asks us to do what's right. And here's the thing. Sometimes that's hard, isn't it? Right? How many of you have people that you don't like? Raise your hand if you know somebody in your life that you don't like. Okay? And raise your hand if you don't always treat those people well. Right? Let's be honest. Yeah. Okay? What does God ask us to do? What does God call us to do? Even those people, right? Even if it's hard. That's what God calls us to do. There's a question or you still raise your hand? Okay, it's all good. Okay? And so, what do? God suggests we just try, right? So he's like, Moses, take one step towards Egypt, and then take another, and then take another, and then take another. And God will be with us as we do it. And so even if it's hard, that is what we are called to do. So real quick, we're going to do quiz show. So I'm going to call on different people. I might even throw some candy if you get it right. I know. All right. Number one, Amelia. Baby Moses was found floating in the A, Mississippi River, B, the Amazon River, C, the Nile River, or D, the very large Mediterranean Sea. What do you think? C. Yes. It was great. The Nile River, which is in what country? Egypt. Yes. But the story is in Egypt. So, all right. Baby Moses was found by the Pierce, Pharaoh's pool cleaner, Pharaoh's daughter, Pharaoh's butler, or by the Pharaoh himself. Very nice. Pharaoh's daughter. Okay. Number 3, Evan. Moses had to flee Egypt because he had so many chariot parking tickets, like the cost was just running up. He killed an Egyptian. Chuck Norris was after him, which, yeah. Or the Egyptian sun was just, it was, skin and stuff. What do you think? Why? You're going to say you're right. That's right. He killed an Egyptian. All right, Evan. Moses fled to the land of Michigan, Manna, Minas Tirith, or Midian. The hand came down pretty quick, didn't it? Midian. You bet you're right. Yes, Midian. He went to the land of Midian. All right, number 5. Odin, you haven't said word 1 this whole time. And so I'm calling on you. All right. Moses saw the burning bush when he was, this is great, drawing water from a well, at a baseball game, go Brewers, tending the sheep, or looking for wild berries. See. I was going to say that too. That's amazing. All right. But I still like it. All right. God Moses to take off what? We didn't talk about this. This is a guess. Does anybody want to guess? He did, yes, his sandals. And I've given you enough candy already. All right. God told Moses that he is the God of. We didn't talk about this, but can anybody say who A was? Do you know who we're referencing in A? Yes, the Beatles. Okay. But the answer is Abraham, Isaac. Again, we're back to Abraham. Remember the Mount Rushmore? Isaac and Jacob. And the last one, Moses said he was not good at speaking because, the taller you jump? Sit down. All right. Sadie, what do you think? I know you did. All right, he did have a speech impediment. Yes. So that is going to be what we're talking about today. We're going to talk more about Moses next week. This is just the start of Moses' story. It actually gets better. Okay? So, everybody know where they're going tonight? All right. Everybody have a fun time in small group, and we will see you next week. Great job, everyone. What's it?